How's it going, everybody? Christopher Black here, Senior Solutions Engineer with Harness. And in today's video, we're going to walk through deploying applications to ECS using Terraform and Harness Infrastructure as code management. So let's jump right in. I want to start with the setup. So in our setup right here, we have an ECS cluster. Also want to put this out there. ECS is still very much alive and well. It's an alternative to Kubernetes. So it's AWS's proprietary container orchestration platform. So think a proprietary homegrown version of Kubernetes. It's incredibly powerful for what it is, and it integrates very nicely with AWS's tools and whole ecosystem of services. There's a number of organizations in the world today still very much leveraging ECS, still leveraging ECS at scale. And some of these are the world's leading technology companies. So this is a very common pattern we see. We're using Terraform to manage our infrastructure, and that makes sense, right? So when we talk about the infrastructure here, we're talking about the cluster, the ECS cluster itself, the networking, subnets, VPCs, and whatever IAM roles are associated with that. So our folder right up here, infra, this is where we define the cluster setup itself. Now, where things get very interesting in today's video is we're also using Terraform to deploy the application itself. This might seem a little counterintuitive. This might seem a little orthogonal. This is actually a fairly common pattern we see in organizations, and there are pros and cons associated with this. And we're going to talk about the pros and cons today. In a follow-up video to this, I'm going to do this using traditional CD. I'm going to do this leveraging traditional Harness CD. And we're going to see some of the benefits of traditional CD, traditional pipeline modeling. We're going to talk about the pros and cons. In today's video, we're going to deploy an application to our ECS cluster using Terraform. Okay, I've already provisioned the cluster. I've done so locally. We're going to start to pick up the pace here. Things get very interesting when we jump into Harness. So I have an ICAM pipeline. This is a pipeline I use to automate the provisioning of infrastructure. So as I said, I'm going to jump back to GitHub. We've already defined our infrastructure. We've already provisioned the cluster. I have a pipeline up here which exercises our core Terraform primitives, plan, approve, apply. And I'm also applying some security scans. I think this is a fascinating problem set, applying security, applying shift left principles, applying DevSecOps to infrastructure automation. We'll talk more about that in subsequent videos. For now, what's happening is we're scanning our infrastructure. We're scanning our modules for misconfigurations and for policy violations. Okay, I'm going to look at execution history up here. I have an approval up. I'm just going to click approve real quick. Awesome. I clicked approve very quickly. I'm going to walk everybody through what I did. Okay, so within this pipeline, I have a piece of Terraform code that updates our task definition. Our task definition, I'm going to go to app here, right up here. Our task definition is a very important concept in ECS. It basically defines our application, our services, our service. It maps it to a Docker image. It defines some configuration parameters. But the point being, when we update this resource right here, when we update our task definition, it's fairly straightforward. We're effectively updating our application. So we're using IACM, we're using infrastructure as code management to practice a kind of CD, a kind of continuous delivery with our application. Okay, let's talk about the pros and cons associated with this approach. Okay, there are many. The pros are quick time to value, right? Another pro is, let's say you're working in an organization that has very strong IAC usage, some good patterns at play. Well, it's likely you can leverage a lot of those patterns to deploy your application. You can also manage the entire life cycle of the application within Terraform itself. So these are some pretty powerful benefits. Some of the cons, some of the drawbacks associated with this approach, and this is probably the biggest, and this will set us up for our subsequent video. The biggest drawback to using Terraform to manage the lifecycle of an ECS application is we can't leverage the benefits of traditional continuous delivery. More specifically, we can't leverage continuous verification. We can't connect to an application's observability stack. This is absolutely massive in some instances, because for a lot of organizations that practice traditional CD, when we integrate with an observability stack, it could be Datadog, New Relic, CloudWatch, it doesn't matter. We integrate with an observability stack and we take observability signal post-deployment, we funnel that through automation. We can use that to trigger an automatic rollback on Harness. So we can automate the entire process of software delivery, soup to nuts, code to artifact, artifact to production, and then apply automation to that, leveraging traditional CD. I know that's a mouthful. You might have to watch that part of the video again. Point being, there's a lot of pros and cons associated with this approach. There's a number of pros: quick time to value. Oftentimes, organizations that leverage this model, their application deployment code and some of the underlying infrastructure definitions are tightly coupled. It is what it is. One thing I want to point out real quick, I have this job here, or this stage, down at the end, custom health check. Developers, operators have the ability to codify a custom health check, whatever form or function that takes. It could be a simple shell script, it could be a Python app, it could be a little bit of middleware, doesn't matter. So there are ways we can leverage a custom health check at the end of our deployment to trigger an automatic rollback based on some kind of predetermined threshold. So just to recap, everybody, we today deployed an application. In fact, let's go to execution history. Just put it all together, soup to nuts. We go to apply. I am looking for a DNS record right here. Voila. Hey, look, welcome to Nginx. So we did deploy an application, soup to nuts. Just to recap, we did all of this today using Terraform, using Harness Infrastructure as code management. In a subsequent video, we're going to take all of this and we're going to take our application, we're going to deploy it leveraging traditional CD, and we're going to leverage a lot of the benefits of connecting to an observability stack and leveraging continuous verification. Folks, that's all I've got for now. I certainly hope you found this video valuable, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.